You're probably thinking, preacher thinks I don't sow seed. That's not the case. The case is if we're sowing seed to get a harvest, how big of a harvest do you want? Find Ephesians 3:20. How big of a harvest do you want? Where do you find yourself? Most people view themselves as this little bitty, as my God is just enough. And they go through life, thank you, Lord, that I've got just enough food. Thank you, Lord, that I've got just enough gas to get to work. Thank you, Lord, that I've got just enough money to make it to the ball game so I can watch my kids. Thank you, Lord, that I've got just enough money to pay my tithes this week. Thank you, Lord, that I've got just enough money to sow $1 on Thursday. Did I say that out loud? But when we start thanking God, I thank you that you are more than enough. That not only my tithes, but I have more than enough. That not only my seed, that now I have the ability. Because I'm telling you, because when you begin to walk in the harvest, you think differently.
Yes.
You ever seen somebody who was just let me say it like this. There's been times when I have been broke. But being broke, I knew that Friday was rolling around. I was going to crawl out of it. Anybody ever been there? Mm-hmm. There's a poverty mindset, and then there is a broke mindset. And most of the ones in poverty, it's not that they don't have enough. It's just that they have just enough. And so their poverty mindset, they throw it and they blow it and it goes out the window and so they live from paycheck to paycheck. I've been there. I've literally been there. I've been in that poverty mindset where, okay, God, I'm just going to make my way to this. I'm just going to get through this. But when I understood what seed was and understood that the giving and understand the power that my seed, not only my money, but my tongue, how I think, how I act, how I present myself. I am the seed of God. I do not have to walk around here with my head held down and thinking that I'm not going to make it, because in fact I have already made it. If I look and I grab the telescope of God and I look and I see what God is seeing, I would shout all over this place because I've done a ride. Come on, somebody. It's better than the Jeffersons. I'm moving on up into the mansion in the sky because I understand that with God I've already gotten there. So, my seed, my harvest, what I sow, how I see myself is how I sow. This is probably harder than a tithe message. But the real truth, the reality is this. Everybody say, I love the preacher.
I love the preacher.
No, you got to say it louder than that.
I love the preacher.
Most Christians are self-centered. They don't have peripheral vision where they are seeing, they see what's in front of them, and they've been taught, keep your eyes on the cross. And that's good. You got to do that. You got to keep your eyes on the cross. But you also have to be good stewards of everything that God gives you.
Amen. That's right.
The Bible said Jesus told a parable. He said he came and he gave one farmer 1 talent. That word talent is money. He said he gave another farmer 3 talents. And he gave a third farmer 5 talents. He said, the king said, I'll go away, and when I come back, I want you to turn this into more. Said that the one that had five talents turned it into 10. The one that had 3 turned it into 5. And the one that had 1 buried it. Now, Jesus came and he said to the one that turned it into 10, that is well and good, my faithful servant, enter into the kingdom of heaven. Listen to this parable. So he goes to the other one and he says, you turned your 3 into 5, well and good, my faithful servant, now enter into the kingdom of heaven. Y'all stay with me. Everybody say, I love the preacher.
Love the preacher.
He goes to the one that has the 1. And he says, Lord, when you give me this talent, he said, I buried this talent because I knew that you was a faithful king. And when you come back, you were serious about what you give. I didn't want nobody to steal it. I didn't want nobody to get it. And just as you give it to me, I have buried it. I kept it just like it is. So here, God, here is that talent. Here is that gift. Here is that money you've given to me. I'm giving it back to you. And Jesus says it like this in the King James Version. He says, why did you not take this to the merchant and get me usury? That usury word means interest. Why didn't you take this to the bankers and bring back an interest for me? He said, now you buried and you've done nothing with it. He said, so now, he said, you shall be thrown into the lake of fire. I didn't say that. Jesus did. Everybody's digging out for dollars. I see their eyes. I ain't going to hell. Because for the fact that God meant for us to always be a sower, a giver. There was 3 things that God commands you to do. Okay? As a Christian, there are 3 things. The first thing that we ought to do is pray. As a Christian, you need to pray. The second thing as a Christian, and most of us fail on this, is fast. God requires you to fast, whether you believe it or not. It's in the Bible. He requires you to pray and fast. And the third thing is to give.